How to manage context and memory in AI. A practical guide, Part 1. As you use AI tools more frequently and for more complex tasks, you will eventually notice one important limitation. AI models do not remember information the same way humans do. They do not have true long-term memory across different conversations. And even within a single conversation, their ability to retain information is limited. This is where context and memory management becomes a crucial skill. Learning how to manage context effectively can significantly improve the quality, consistency, and usefulness of AI responses, especially when working on long or complex projects. In this two-part series, we will explore how context and memory work in AI systems and how you can manage them effectively. In Part 1, we will focus on the fundamentals. In Part 2, we will cover advanced techniques and practical strategies. 1. What is context in AI? In the context of large language models, such as Grok, ChatGPT, and Claude, context refers to the information the AI can access and use when generating a response. This typically includes the current user message, previous messages within the same conversation, any system-level instructions or background information. Unlike humans, AI models do not have persistent memory. They can only work with the information that is currently within their context window. Once information falls outside this window, the AI can no longer access it unless it is reintroduced. 2. Understanding the context window. The context window is the maximum amount of text, measured in tokens, that an AI model can process at one time. Different models have different context window sizes. For example, some models support 128.000 tokens. Others support 200.000 tokens or more. Every message you send and every response the AI generates consumes tokens from this window. As the conversation grows longer, older parts of the conversation are gradually removed or compressed to make room for new information. This process is often referred to as context overflow or context loss. When context overflow happens, the AI may forget earlier instructions, important details, or previous parts of the discussion. This is one of the main reasons why long conversations sometimes become less coherent over time. 3. Short-term memory versus long-term memory in AI. It is useful to distinguish between two types of memory in AI systems. Short-term memory. This refers to the information the AI can access within the current conversation. It is limited by the size of the context window. Everything discussed in one chat session stays in short-term memory until it is pushed out due to length. Long-term memory. This refers to information that persists across different conversations or over extended periods. Most current AI models, including Grok, ChatGPT, and Claude, do not have built-in long-term memory. They cannot remember details from previous separate conversations unless that information is explicitly provided again in the current session. This is why you often have to repeat important context or instructions when starting a new conversation with an AI. 4. Why context management matters. Managing context effectively is important for several reasons. Consistency. Without proper context management, the AI may give conflicting answers in the same conversation. Accuracy. Important details can be lost when the context window overflows, leading to less accurate responses. Efficiency. Poor context management often forces you to repeat information, wasting time. Complexity. Working on long-term projects, research, or multi-step tasks becomes much more difficult without good context control. Reduced hallucinations. When the AI has access to the right context, it is less likely to make up information. In short, Good context management helps you get more reliable and higher quality results from AI tools. 5. Common problems caused by poor context management. Many users experience these issues when they do not actively manage context. The AI forgets important instructions given earlier in the conversation. Responses become inconsistent or contradictory over time. The AI starts making assumptions based on incomplete information. Long conversations gradually lose coherence. You have to repeatedly remind the AI about key details. Complex tasks become messy and hard to manage. These problems usually occur because older information has been pushed out of the context window as the conversation grows longer. 6. How major AI models handle context. Different AI models handle context in slightly different ways, though they all face the same fundamental limitations. Grok has a reasonably large context window and handles long conversations relatively well. However, like other models, it can still lose track of earlier information when conversations become very long. ChatGPT also has a large context window in its newer versions. It performs well in maintaining context within a single conversation, but older information can still be lost as the chat grows. Claude is known for having one of the largest context windows among major models. It generally handles long conversations better than most other AIs. But it is not immune to context loss when conversations become extremely long. Despite these differences, all models still require users to actively manage context for best results. 7. Basic strategies to manage context effectively. Even without using advanced tools, there are several practical ways to manage context better. Keep conversations focused. Try to limit each conversation to one main topic or project. Starting a new chat for unrelated tasks helps maintain clarity and prevents the context from becoming too cluttered. Restate important information. If certain details are critical, restate them clearly when necessary. Especially in long conversations, do not assume the AI will remember everything from the beginning. Use summaries. When a conversation becomes very long, you can ask the AI to create a summary of the key points discussed so far. You can then reference this summary in future messages to help maintain important context. Start fresh when necessary. If a conversation has become too long and messy, it is often better to start a new chat and provide a clear summary of what has been discussed. This helps reset the context and usually improves response quality. Prioritize key instructions. Place important instructions near the beginning of your message or repeat them when needed. Information placed early tends to be retained better by the AI. 8. Summary of Part 1. In this first part, we explored the fundamentals of context and memory in AI. We discussed what context means in AI and how the context window works. The difference between short-term and long-term memory. Why managing context is important. How major AI models, Grok, ChatGPT, Claude, handle context. Common problems caused by poor context management. Basic strategies to manage context more effectively. 1. Why basic strategies are not always enough. While basic techniques such as keeping conversations focused and restating important information are helpful, they often become insufficient when dealing with very long conversations or complex, multi-step projects. In these cases, you need more structured and proactive methods to manage context effectively. Advanced context management involves actively controlling what information stays in the AI's context window and ensuring that the most important details remain accessible throughout the conversation. 2. Using summaries to maintain context. One of the most effective advanced techniques is to periodically ask the AI to create a summary of the conversation so far. This helps compress important information and keeps it within the context window. How to use this technique. After a long discussion, ask, "Please summarize the key points we have discussed so far in this conversation." Then, in your next message, you can refer to this summary instead of repeating everything. You can also ask the AI to update the summary as the conversation progresses. This method is particularly useful for research, writing projects, or any task that spans multiple sessions. By keeping a running summary, you reduce the risk of important information being lost due to context overflow. 3. Memory injection technique. Memory injection is a technique where you deliberately reintroduce important information into the conversation at strategic points. This helps ensure that critical details remain in the AI's active context. How to apply it? Instead of assuming the AI remembers everything, you can periodically remind it of key facts, decisions, or instructions. For example, remember that we decided to target young professionals aged 25 to 35 and focus on sustainable products. Please keep this in mind for the rest of the conversation. You can also create a short, memory note at the beginning of important messages to reinforce key context. This technique is especially useful in long conversations where important details might otherwise be forgotten. 4. Managing very long conversations. When conversations become very long, context management becomes more challenging. Here are some effective strategies. Start a new conversation with a summary. If a conversation has become too long and messy, it is often better to start fresh. Copy the key points or ask the AI to create a comprehensive summary. Then paste it into a new chat. This resets the context window while preserving important information. Use structured summaries. Instead of asking for a general summary, request a structured one. For example, create a structured summary of our discussion with the following sections: goals, key decisions, open questions, and next steps. Break projects into multiple conversations. For large projects, consider dividing the work into separate conversations, e.g. one for research, one for planning, one for writing. This helps maintain better context within each focused session. 5. Combining multiple context management techniques. The most effective approach is often to combine several techniques together. Here's an example of a strong workflow. Start the conversation with clear goals and constraints. Periodically ask for summaries as the conversation grows. Use memory injection to reinforce important decisions. When the conversation becomes too long, start a new chat with a well-structured summary. Continue building on the previous work using the summary as context. This combination helps maintain consistency and quality even in very long or complex projects. 6. Advanced tips for different AI models. Different AI models handle context slightly differently, so your approach can be adjusted accordingly. When using Grok, Grok generally handles long conversations quite well. You can rely more on memory injection and summaries. It also responds well to direct instructions about what information to remember. When using ChatGPT, ChatGPT benefits from clear structure. Using summaries and breaking tasks into smaller conversations works very effectively. You can also use custom instructions, in paid plans, to help maintain consistent context across sessions. When using Claude, Claude has one of the largest context windows, so it can handle longer conversations better than most models. However, it still benefits from summaries and structured memory injection, especially for very complex projects. 7. Common mistakes in advanced context management. Even when using more advanced techniques, many people still make these mistakes. Waiting too long before summarizing, causing important information to already be lost. creating summaries that are too vague or incomplete, overloading new conversations with too much previous context at once, not being consistent with how they manage context across different conversations, relying too heavily on the AI to remember everything without active management. Being mindful of these mistakes will help you maintain better control over context. 8. Best practices for managing context and memory. Here are some best practices you can adopt for long-term improvement. Regularly summarize long conversations to preserve key information. Be proactive about reintroducing important context instead of assuming the AI remembers. Organize your work into focused conversations rather than one extremely long thread. Use structured summaries with clear sections when working on complex projects. Experiment with different context management techniques to find what works best for your workflow. Combine context management with good prompting techniques for even better results. 9. Final thoughts. Managing context and memory effectively is one of the most important skills for using AI at a high level. While AI models continue to improve their context window sizes, they still have fundamental limitations. Users who actively manage context tend to get significantly better, more consistent, and more reliable results. The techniques discussed in both parts of this series, from basic strategies like restating key information to advanced methods like structured summaries and memory injection, can help you work more effectively with AI tools like Grok, ChatGPT, and Claude. As you continue using AI, make context management a conscious part of your workflow. Over time, it will become second nature and greatly improve the quality of your interactions with AI.